Hello, I'm Will. I'm a biologist, and when I get bored at work, I ask the internet random questions that pop into my head. I take the responses to these questions and analyze them like I would actual scientific data. The only difference between the figures that I generate at work and the ones that I generate here are that these ones are absolutely useless. So I asked the good people of Reddit what they thought about stealing pint glasses from pubs and why. I steal pint glasses from pubs, not small independent pubs, big chains like Weatherspoons, and the pint glasses are always branded. Scenario in my head. You and your mates are out on the town, the third or fourth pub. You're in the home stretch here, that period of time where things go slow, but you can't wait for your mates to finish their pints so you can dip off to Mackey's for some chicken and chips. You're running out of things to say, a feeling's gripping you. The one you had last time where you swear you wouldn't do it again. Camden Hell's glass, small pint glass, fat and round. This time it's whatever you've got in your hand. You're looking down at your branded pint glass because you can't bear those awkward pauses with you and your co-workers or your mates. Trying to resist, you're glancing at first, but now it's the only fucking thing in the room. Looks good. Got a nice shape. Perfect size. Got that nice new logo of your favourite pint on it. Fucking hell, do you know where that would look good? Straight in your cupboard. This post got seen 199,000 times. It was upvoted 142 times at a rate of 78%. It got shared 57 times. And 485 people took time out of their day to respond to this post. I want to know how people feel about this, but I don't want to have to sift through every comment on the thread. So I'm going to do what's known as a sentiment analysis. Now calm down, you might be suffering heart palpitations at the mere mention of the word analysis, but it's really simple. A sentiment analysis tells us people's tone towards something. We use this to get an idea of how people feel about something. I give it a comment and it spits out a number. If that number is positive, it tells us that someone feels positively. If it's negative, then they're feeling negatively. Do this for every comment and you get an idea about how people feel about something. What you're seeing here is a histogram. Again, don't panic at the big words. Remember that number we were talking about from the sentiment analysis? Every number that I get given, there is a bar. If that number props up more than once, the bar gets taller. In the middle, there is 0. This score happens the most. It is an absolutely neutral score. It is where the sum of all the words in that comment equals 0. Neutrality. They feel neutrally. Anything either side of that is negative or positive. So enough pleasantries. What the fuck does this mean? Well, we've got some stats to go along with this. The mean value, the average, how people feel in general, is an impressive negative 0.004764015. The minimum score, the lowest score that we got, was -1. That's the lowest you can get. The scores occur between 1 and -1. You cannot get any higher or lower than -1 and 1. And that -1 and that +1 are the fucking extremes. And the max value, so again, the most positive one that we got was 0.5. So between 0 and 1, kind of middle of the road. So the mean value is, our average value is slightly negative, and the discourse is basically neutral because it is so slight. People don't give a fuck, is what this tells us. Or there is an equal sentiment of disdain as there is for enthusiasm towards glass theft. The lowest value is the lowest you can get, so again, -1. Someone is clearly fucking seething at the idea that people justify stealing pint glasses. And the highest value is, it's kind of middle of the road, so not that arsed yet. Okay, so we took the replies out. Now let's have a look at what happens when we include the replies. Right, so the lowest value is -1. That's no change. There's no change there. The highest value is now 1, so things got more positive on the positive side of things. And the mean is now 0.027700002, which makes it higher than before. That's great. So whilst the average value has actually increased again, it is basically so close to 0 that it's still fucking neutral. Now what is interesting is that there is a higher frequency of the absolute lowest and highest values. Now really what I'd like to think is happening is that if there were negative comments, which there fucking were in the initial instance, people are responding to those comments and, telling those people to sort of chill out, just a hypothetical situation, and it's on the internet. Which is, I never intended to trigger people by this discourse. But inevitably it goes that way anyway. Or another possibility, which is equally lovely in my opinion, is that people are now sort of discussing all the times they've stolen things on the internet, or about pubs in general. That would be lovely. So before we can confirm or deny this though, we actually need to look at some common words that got said in this thread. So in order to try and extract more meaning from these comments, I have made a graph which you can see here. It shows the top 25 most commonly used words in this thread. On our x-axis we have our word, that's the bottom, and on our y-axis on the side we have our frequency. So the taller and more pink a bar appears, the more frequently used the word was, and vice versa for the shorter, darker purple bars. They were used less commonly, but they were still within the top 25 most used words in the thread. And so let's look at some of these 25 words. There are some innocent words and sort of non-informative words that are getting used here. Words like glass, glasses, pint, and pubs, they don't tell us very much about how people are feeling, but more so that these are going to be elements that people use quite commonly within their comments just to kind of talk about this. There are some more words that we do see which kind of give us more of a sense of how people are feeling. Stealing, steal, and theft crop up. Now you could give steal and stealing the benefit of the doubt as they could be used in innocent contexts, but theft is a loaded word. There's zero ambiguity with it. If someone is using the word theft, then they're describing a thief. Thieves very seldomly are thought of in a good light. The word stool makes an appearance though. I will leave you in suspense as to whether or not people are walking into their local pubs and shitting on the floors, or if they're just talking about stools. Right, enough jokes about shit. I want to go through some comments now. We're going to start with the good ones, the ones that I personally liked and the ones that had the most upvotes in all of the thread. Starting off with, when I managed the spoons a few years ago, if a punter wanted a glass, and bizarrely some books from the generic shelving displays around the booths we had, I would tell them that if they dropped a couple of quid into our local charity pot on the bar, I would be temporarily blinded by their generosity. I think I really like the spirit of this comment, and as it just so happens, 891 other people who also upvoted it did. And what I like about it most is that it really feeds into this idea of, you know, people sharing their experiences and prompting nice discussions on the internet, which is great, you know. We also got treated to this nice anecdote. My husband picked up a bar stool from our local more than 20 years ago and walked out with it. No one challenged him. It's a great stool. It survived many house moves and quite a lot of mistreatment by the kids. I think the glasses are also pretty durable, perhaps more so than the ones you buy in shops. We also have a few of them. We don't go to pubs anymore, otherwise we might have enough to kit out our own home pub. And again, yet how lovely is this? We're having just a nice interaction on the internet where people are talking about things they've stolen and just being drunk and having a merry time. And it also prompted lots of discussion about stool theft, hence why this was on the highest word graph. People weren't in fact talking about times that they had gone into their local pubs and taken a shit on the floor. Well, one of my favourites was when asked about stealing glasses. That's a stupid idea. What if they're not your prescription? This happened more than once and I laughed at every single time it happened, as did 141 other people. Rounding things off, my favourite comment was actually only liked by two people, me and someone else. Took a Brewdog one once, and the place shut down shortly after. Coincidence. I feel like if you're a regular at pubs, there are certain characters that emerge at different times of the night, and the one who comes over to you try to spout a nice sort of homogenized mix of conspiracy theories and also just unsolicited life advice. As a frequenter of pubs, I have had many encounter with this character. The one that sticks out in my mind is when I was at a bar and doing a bit of people watching, and there are these two women next to me that have this bloke just hanging off them. He's, he's saying a lot of things and he's raising his eyebrows is what I can remember. I remember him quite vividly. And the line that to this day, I cannot get out of my head is, he went, "The Nazis put fluoride in the water. Think about it." I just thought, wow, what a bit of wisdom that is. And for the record, I don't think they were buying it. I think they were just sort of high-handing him and giving him eye rolls and that kind of business. But yeah, what a bit of wisdom. I didn't want to completely fucking nerd out, mainly because I'm afraid of confrontation and drunk people scare me. But I didn't have the heart to tell him that we actually do this in the UK. We put fluoride in the water, not to do anything sinister that you might associate with the Nazis. And, you know, I'd also look like that bloke in Good Will Hunting who comes up to Minnie driving and sort of tries to impress her with all that knowledge, you know. Right, so we've gone over the good comments. Now I think we should look at the bad ones and what Reddit defines as the controversial comments. These are comments that I kind of think are mean-spirited or were listed in the controversial filter on the thread comments. The first one is nice and easy. It is the comment which had the lowest sentiment score of -1, and it's simply, theft is theft. When we talk about associating certain comments with certain characters that you might find in a pub, I think this is on a level with pink-faced, bald men who are perpetually wearing England t-shirts, drinking Carlin at room temperature, that would also utter the phrase, Brexit means Brexit. And I think it's quite amazing, at least for me, how a comment can invoke such a vivid image, one that you can almost see in your mind of who made this comment. And the reason I think I don't like it isn't because I associate it with, gammons. I don't like it because it implies that theft on all levels is wrong. And I don't think this is true. I don't think someone who is stealing to eat, for example, is on the same level as, bankers who caused the 2008 financial crisis. And I think it's really all about relative loss, where I made it clear earlier that I don't steal pint glasses from local small pubs, and that's because they would feel the theft of a pint glass a lot more than a big chain like Wetherspoons, Turtle Bay, a Green King pub. They wouldn't feel it as much as a small pub would. And the bluntness is telling, and I could almost understand and empathize with this person more if they gave a bit more information on why they feel that way, and not just a blocky comment which is purely there to rage bait and to cause the opposite of those nice stories. We kind of get more explanation in the next one. Pubs are struggling, and many are barely staying afloat. It's not a victimless crime. Being a thief isn't good. People who nick things for a laugh are skanks and spivs. Buy a glass one if you want, you tight criminal twats. Yes, I've worked in a pub that had to close. The glasses aren't free. It all hits the bottom line. So again, this one has more reasoning, which is great. This person has lived experiences of working in a pub that closed, and I can't dispute that. I can't go into that person's brain and say, well, actually, you're wrong. I don't think pint glass theft would have solely caused a pub to go under, but you never know. The reason I don't like it is from the words that this person uses, i.e. skanks and spivs, criminal twats is also pretty strong. And also, there's another kind of aspect to this, to deep dive into the pint glass theft law, because I think it's a bit of a common excuse for people to be like, well, the breweries that make these beers want to advertise, so they put their brands and designs on pint glasses, and then they give it to pubs. So, when you're getting a pint of Guinness, you get a Guinness glass. So it's almost like they give these pint glasses away for free so that they can advertise whilst they're selling their pints. So, someone walks into the local, sees someone drinking piss-coloured liquid, and okay, that's, Cruz Kempo or whatever. I'm going to have some of that because I like drinking piss. And so, if these pubs are getting these glasses for free, then stealing the ones that they're getting for free makes it far less of a capital C crime in my book, because there's no loss there. One word we saw earlier in the top 25 most used words was brewery. And I think this is why, because lots of people were saying, breweries give it to them for free, so a lot of the time when it's branded, they don't feel it. And, this got disputed by people who did and didn't allegedly work in pubs. So the last controversial one is they want me to advertise their poxy beer. Well, I'm probably going to steal the glass if I can be asked to carry it around. In my local now, I asked for a tankard glass, those old thick ones with dimples in them. Ale tastes better in them. And to be honest, I don't know why this got the most downvotes in the entire thread. A branded pint glass is advertising for an alcohol brand. That just is what it is. I was talking about this with someone I know, and they actually said that, it's actually probably better for everyone if you do steal these pint glasses, because when you take it home and you then use it for water or juice or squash or whatever, and you look at it, you're constantly staring at that logo. So subconsciously, a Guinness or a Cruz Kempo is being wormed into your brain because you're drinking out of a glass which has the brand on it. And therefore, you're going to go out to the local more to drink what's on the pint glass or buy more of the beer. So it's a win-win for everyone. So if anything, they really should be encouraging it. Right, and that'll do it for our trip down to the local pub.